Hello, all you Shameless fans out there. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and rank my favorite Gallagher family members, starting from worst and going to first. Now, we're not going to include Monica. She doesn't count. We're not going to include Kevin and V, even though I love them in Shameless. They are technically not Gallagher, so it is just Frank and the 6 kids. Let's get on into the video. Coming in at number 7 on this list, which might be surprising to some of you, as I'm assuming a lot of you have an obvious choice for the worst Gallagher. It's not Frank, it's actually little Debbie Gallagher. Now, Debbie Gallagher is played by Emma Kenney in the show, at least in the United States version. When the show first airs, Debbie is 11 years old. And within the first few episodes, Debbie has one of her craziest moments, even though she has too many to keep track of. Do you remember when she stole the baby? Yeah, just decided to take it home because she thought the baby was cute. And then that entire episode is the rest of the Gallagher family scheming to try and get that little, I think it's a boy, back home without really anything bad happening. It's a fun episode, but it's a crazy episode. And early on, you can see that Debbie maybe have a little narcissism in her, just kind of takes whatever she wants, no matter the consequences. Some other main issues that Debbie had, you remember that time that to lose her virginity, she more or less date raped the much older guy who was not interested in her, obviously because of the age gap. And then, of course, she did trick Derek into having a baby with her. There's too many other issues to go on and on, many moments to go on and on. But at the end of the day, Debbie is just super annoying. I think out of the rest of the Gallagher family, she's the most like Frank. She's very narcissistic. Everything she does seems to only benefit herself. She manipulates and steals and lies, but only to get ahead, not for good. So she's not the Robin Hood of the Gallagher family. And at the end of the day, she's just really annoying, especially when Fiona leaves the show and she tries to take over that matriarch role and is just super, super annoying, wants everybody to pay their fair share, wants little Liam to pay rent or kick him out of the house. So Debbie is number 7 on the list. But I will say this about Debbie. She is extremely hardworking. She sets her mind to it. She teaches herself, or she signs up for welding classes and becomes a welder. She runs her own business, and she becomes a registered sex offender. So number 7 is Debbie Gallagher. So before I get into number 6, let me try to explain why I'm ranking these the way I am. It doesn't mean that I don't really like the character. And also, I understand that some of these characters you're meant to not like. That is the whole point of their character. But number 6 on the list is actually Liam. And it's not that I dislike Liam. It's just, especially throughout the show in the early seasons, he's not really around that much because he's so young. Now, Liam is the youngest Gallagher. I believe he is 2 years old when the show first airs. And he is actually portrayed by Brendan Gleeson when he's a little baby. And then later in the show, he is portrayed by Christian Isaiah. Now, again, the main reason that Liam comes in at number 6 is just because he just does not have that much screen time, especially through the first few 5 or 6 seasons. He's very, very young. Now, he does absolutely have the saddest moment of Shameless, even though there are so many. But whenever he accidentally got into that booga sugar, that was heartbreaking. Spoiler, he's okay. Okay. Now, towards the end of the show, I actually like where Liam's character is going. And if they ever tried to do a spinoff or reboot Shameless or something like that, I really think that Liam should be the main focus. They could show him growing up maybe in Milwaukee. Even though I think, right, he ends up moving to Wisconsin with Lip. I don't think Lip would be involved too much just because I think Jeremy is too busy, but I think Liam could be like the main star of a reboot or a spinoff of Shameless. The thing about Liam is he's incredibly smart, but he's also gullible because he's young, right? He's really the only one at the end of the show that tends to have anything to do with Frank, and is feeling empathy and sympathy for Frank. He's also confused, right? He is a black boy, young man, growing up in a white family, and he's trying to figure out his background, his heritage, and all of that, and he's very curious. So there's nothing I have against Liam. And again, if there were something to, if there was a show reboot or a spinoff, I think it should surround Liam and his story. But he's number 6 on the list. Coming in at number 5, we start to get in the character that probably has the saddest character arc in the show, and that is Ian Gallagher, portrayed by Monaghan. Cameron. And when he started the show, Ian was just 15 years old. Now, again, I don't have anything wrong with Ian personally. I just think his character story, his arc is so sad that for me, it's hard to relate to Cameron, and I just feel sorry for him. So he comes in at number 5. So he starts out as a young 15-year-old boy. And in the first season, it comes out that he is gay, which, be very clear, I have absolutely zero issues with that. That's not why I'm ranking him low on this list. But he is banging like a 30-year-old owner of the grocery, or I guess of the gas station, convenience store that he works at. And you just kind of gloss over the fact that, yeah, he's 15 and he's banging some old dude who's married with 2 kids. Now, the cool part about this, side note, don't know if you recognize, I think his name is Cash, right? The owner of that convenience store. His wife is actually on Mighty Ducks, the original movies. Shout out to her, Connie. Yeah, Connie. All right, so Ian, 15 years old. He's got a crazy story arc, though. So starts out there banging the convenience store guy, moves on, goes, tries to, I guess he steals Lip's identity, joins up for the army because he's not old enough, goes to the army, then steals a helicopter and goes AWOL and comes back home and is trying to run from the military. And then we find out that he's bipolar, and that's when Ian's character gets really, really, really sad. I think the show does a great job of depicting what it's like, living with somebody that's bipolar, or being somebody that's bipolar. It's just incredibly sad, right? He's 1 minute he's like off the wall, freaking out, doing a lot of drugs, just can't stop. He's going crazy, and the next, right, the guy cannot get out of bed. So that's sad. And then towards the later seasons, he starts he's like gay Jesus. He's throwing Molotov cocktails at vans. Being a public figure for the LGBTQ community, which is cool, but he takes that to the extreme and ends up in jail. Then him and Mickey, Galovich or whatever that's called, their story is crazy, but funny, but awesome. So I like Ian. I really do. It's just that his story, his character, is just really sad. And a lot of times it's too much for me to handle. So there it is. Ian Gallagher coming in at number 5. Okay, we're at number 4, and we still haven't mentioned the worst human being on the show, which is Frank Gallagher. Well, here we go. Number 4, Frank Gallagher, portrayed by William H. Macy. Not really sure how old Frank is at the time of the show starts. I would assume 40s, 50s, something like that. But without a doubt, one of the worst fictional fathers in the history of TV. But William H. Macy does a fantastic job. In my opinion, maybe one of the best acting jobs of all time, portraying the narcissistic, alcoholic, selfish prick that is Frank Gallagher. Now, why don't I have him at number 7? If I go back and rewatch Shameless, within the first few episodes, I'll probably find a few moments or a few scenes where I'm like, okay, never mind, I should rank him 7th. And it's because I hate this damn show, but it's because towards the end of the show, especially the later seasons, the last season, Shameless does such a good job of somehow getting me to feel empathy and sympathy towards Frank. The last season and how it all goes down, I find very sad for Frank. Not like it's not deserving, but at the end of the day, he is a human being. Now, again, He is a terrible father, doesn't care about anything but himself. He's scheming always to try to get more money for his next score, and it's really never to help improve his children. However, there are some moments, whether his intentions are specifically selfish or not, that he comes through as a father. And at the end of the day, Frank is just so damn funny. And again, it's just because William H. Macy does such a great job as to why I have Frank at number 4. He survives a few near-death experiences, and always seems to wiggle his way out of a sticky situation. But he does help his kids every once in a while, right? Especially when Monica dies and her drug dealer boyfriend wants the money, wants the stash. He comes through for them there. When Liam is needing help at school, he comes through there, although he ends up basically sleeping with most of the moms at Liam's school, so there's selfish reasons there. But he does come through every once in a while, and just because of how smart he is, how funny he is, and how great of a job William H. Macy does, Frank Gallagher comes in at number 4 on the list. Moving into the top 3, coming in at number 3 is white boy Carl. That's right, Carl Gallagher, portrayed by Ethan Kutkowski, also is 11 years old when the show starts. And his character may change the most out of any other Gallagher from start to finish. In the first few seasons, he's not really around too much. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time. When he does, he's usually doing something stupid like breaking his arm, trying to jump off stuff, beating people up, just doing random hoodlum shit. But then, right, so there's so many different Carls. There's White Boy Carl, where he gets into drug dealing, which ultimately gets him some jail time. He's not a snitch. Then he gets out, tries to join the military, goes to military school. That doesn't really work out for him. Gets out. I think he works at a fast food place, trying to figure his life out, and then ultimately becomes a police officer. So Carl, his story arc is really crazy. I don't think anybody had more of a drastic change than him. And he also dated some really crazy girls, really from an early on to the very end. And so Carl had a really really fun. I thought he was one of the funnier characters, the things that happened to him. But one of the sadder moments of the show for me was when he saw what his friend Mike did, and that really kind of scared him out of the drug scene, got him to shape up a little bit. But if you need Carl to do anything, he's going to do it for you. He's very loyal to his family, and that is why we have Carl Gallagher at number 3. Now, the top 2, I had probably the most difficult deciding between. We still have Fiona. We still have Lip. They could flip-flop, in my opinion, but coming in at number 2 is Lip Gallagher. Lip is portrayed by Jeremy Allen White. You probably know him now from his next great show, The Beast, where he's a chef. Great show, by the way. But Lip starts out as a 16-year-old brainiac. He is one of the smarter members of the Gallagher family. He's just really a whiz. He's also probably the most sarcastic and the funniest Gallagher of them all. He is just a prick, and I love it. Now, Lip is also his own worst enemy. And whenever things are going well for Lip, ultimately he is a self-sabotager and ends up kind of ruining it for himself. So early on, alright, he tries to not go and finish high school because, he's kind of all messed up with Karen and things like that. He's very, very loyal to the girls that he's dating, and kind of, some of these women really mess him up, like Karen, like that teacher, or that professor. But good for you, Lip. But very smart, ends up going to college, but, has some issues with that professor, has some issues with alcohol. In that way, he is a lot like Frank, where he's very smart, but he just doesn't use it for his own potential, or doesn't live up to his own potential, and alcohol and drugs get in the way. But at the end of the day, at the end of the series, right, he's kind of the head parent figure, making sure that everybody is taken care of. He does want everybody to live together, but ends up deciding to sell the house and things like that. However, right, the thing with Lip is whenever things are going good, right, he can't just be happy with things going good. He's kind of always has to try and push the envelope, and ends up maybe doing more harm than good. But he becomes a father at the end, and without a doubt, he will not be Frank Gallagher as a father. So Lip, a brainiac, a funny ass dude, but a self sabotager, and Lip is my second favorite character of the Gallaghers on Shameless. So that brings us to the number one spot, and we only have one character left, and that's Fiona Gallagher. I think a lot of people here may not agree with me that Fiona Gallagher is their favorite Gallagher family member, and that's fine. I get it. She, just like Lip, is a notorious self sabotager. Anytime anything goes well, she's got to push the envelope and ruin it. I can think of so many different scenarios where this is the case, right? With what happened with Mike. She had a good job going, ends up sleeping with the brother, and loses a good job and self sabotages, and then things really spiral out of hand when that whole incident with Liam. Then she works her way up at that diner, ends up buying that laundromat. That doesn't go too well. Is able to kind of get out of the whole situation. Then buys the building. That goes belly up. But at the end of the day, no matter how bad things get, she's always able to wiggle her way out of the situation and move on and improve. And the way that she leaves the show, right, her leaving half of the money to the rest of the family is something that's admirable. And you've got to remember that I think she's 21 years old when the show starts. And I forgot to mention that Emmy Rossum plays Fiona in the show. She's 21 years old, and she's basically raising 6 kids or 5 other kids. Now, Lip and Ian are, self-sufficient, can take care of themselves, but they still need a lot of guidance. They still need to be pushed. Lip needs to be made to go to school and things like that. But I mean, she's like a full-time mom to Liam, and to Debbie and Carl as well. 21 years old, doing whatever she can to make money, making sure she pays the bills, dealing with Frank and all of that, and she still manages to do it. Now, is the family completely messed up? Yes. But try to think of this, a 21-year-old girl raising 5 kids with a deadbeat dad that does, more harm than good. Putting food on the table, making sure everybody goes to school, making sure everybody is, stays alive. That's a lot of respect for Fiona. And that's ultimately why, even though she's not very good with men, that is why Fiona Gallagher, Emmy Rossum, is my favorite Shameless Gallagher family member. Well, there you have it. We ranked them 7-1. I am dead set on Debbie being my least favorite Gallagher. I could flip-flop my 1 and 2. And I could probably move Frank down the list in terms of, being one of the more worst characters. But I love the show. I was late to the game. I did not watch the show as it was coming out or as it was live or whenever it came out on Showtime or things like that. I watched it all last year. Glad that I did. One of my favorite shows of all time. I'll probably go back and rewatch it, and then I could find something new or notice something new, change my opinion, and then maybe come out with a new list. But let me know, who are your favorite characters? Who are some of your least Gallaghers? And let me know in the comments as to why, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.